welcome. So I like to see that this group is growing a little bit. Second Sundays is all about bringing in information about what's going on from a higher perspective other than what we see on TV and the news and what we see in each other, which is sometimes hard to understand that we're all a mirror for each other. I'm Jessica Alstrom for anyone who's brand new here. Susie and I owned and opened Transcendence last year. And basically the concept of Transcendence is a new type of wellness center that focuses on the root cause of pain and suffering. And pain and suffering is all about what we believe about ourselves. And we're all waking up to really learn how to, well, I wouldn't say learn, but remember how to be that authentic self that we came in to be. Everyone in this room was probably born feeling different, and that's for a reason. We spent a good chunk of our life trying to fit in, and that hasn't worked so well, has it? So you weren't supposed to come to fit in. We were supposed to come to change the world. And this particular Sunday is always vulnerable for me because I'm bringing information through my higher perspective and a lot of different energies that speak through me to, help me bring the message. I don't know if I'm a traditional channel. I've seen lots of different channels out there that close their eyes and start shaking and bring spirit in, and spirit has always been right here with me, so it's like just an extra voice within myself. This particular second Sunday is extremely emotional for me, and I'm not sure why. 2016 represents the number 9, and the number 9 is completion. And completion is all about rebirth. And there's 9 months, you're carried in your mother's womb. And over the last 4 years, since 2012, there has been basically 4 years in between, just like the 4 seasons. And that is what we have been working through the trenches to basically integrate this new energy that's on the planet. And it has been coming in waves and waves, and it is affecting every aspect of our lives. It's pushing us to our limits and asking us to wake up in ways that we don't always want to wake up to. How many of you guys wanted to win the lottery yesterday? Right? Wouldn't that make life just so much easier? But technically, we already have. Because it's this time on the planet where we finally get to be who we came to be. And we finally get to rise above and guide and teach those that we've been trying to learn from our whole lives. This is our time. And also the number 9 represents in the tarot the Hermit. How many of you felt like you wanted to just crawl under a rock the last few months? Right? And just go be with yourself, or are being forced into that, right? You're being asked to leave jobs or relationships, and it's not always by choice, because we love to hold on to the old ideas of how we think it should be, because it makes us feel safe. The unknown is the scariest place for ego. It would rather stay in misery and conformment than really step outside into a brand new life. So what you're being asked to do this year is completely leave every comfort zone you've ever known. And that's not always easy. That doesn't always feel safe. But the number 9 also represents the sun. And you are the people of the sun. Sorry. And it's our time. And it's our time on this planet to be us. And to look around this room and know that every single person in this room is fighting a battle very similar to you. And that is what we need right now, is we need support. We need each other. Even if it's just to vent to each other and say, oh, you know, I can't find a relationship or a job, or there's a reason why, but it doesn't always feel good. We're also being asked to completely let go of who we were a week ago. That's not easy either. Because if you close your eyes and try to think about who you really are, where does your mind go? Your mind goes to recalibrate all of your memories, your observations, and your experiences to formulate who you believe you are. The life that you've had on this planet so far has basically been a waiting period. You haven't lived yet. And the reason why you feel lonely and bored and frustrated and homesick is because up until this point, there was nothing really for you to do. There wasn't energy on this planet to support the people of the sun. And now there is. So 2016 represents the year of manifestation, the divine, feminine, creative flow. So intention is going to be everything this year. Now, intention isn't wishful thinking or hope, is it? No. It's intention. It's becoming. It's finally, after all of these years, being able to step into the role that you were born to play. The urge within you, there's now going to be a place for you to be able to bring that up and be who you came to be in the form of service, because that's what you all want anyways. You all want to help. Even if it's just letting someone vent to you on the phone, or going and putting a jacket on someone that's cold, or giving someone a hug, that is who you are. Because I will tell you that the behavior that you feel within your heart space that's been very, very, very intuitive to your whole life, that is not human nature. Human nature is all about separation and struggle and mine and yours and success and stuff. That's never really been who you've been. So now that all of that idea is going away, it's time to close your eyes and think about the best version of yourself and begin to play that role this year. Because I will tell you that this year, we are going to be experiencing death of ego. Yes. And if you want to give that up and go gracefully, I promise you, you will ride the waves. You will accelerate beyond comparison. What took you months and months and months of months to create will take you minutes now. But I will tell you that if you continue to live in that left brain and that logic and that reason and that separation, you will move very, very slow. Because the current can move both ways. The current will accelerate you, or it will throw you back into the past. Now, you've probably heard some great channels talk about all different things that are going to be happening on the planet, but technically about a third of this planet is going to leave. You've already seen that, right? How many of you have lost people in the last year, the last 4 years? In 2012 was the highest suicide rate on the planet in history. If you look at the Mayan calendar, it's the end of an era. It's the time of the rebirth. And so people will be choosing to leave, not necessarily because they don't want to see how it all ends, but they want to work from the other side, the non-physical side. And as a third of us take our role as the people of the sun, then we are going to help clean up this planet. Is anybody familiar with what Iceland has been doing since 2008? So in 2007, very similar with what happened here with our mortgage issues and the banking and everything that happened in Iceland. It happened a lot more severe. Well, instead of going with the status quo, kind of like what we did in this country, Iceland took their power back, and they overthrew their government, and they jailed all the bankers. And they have been working up until this point to rewrite their constitution and their laws. They're writing their laws through social media. It's a completely community-based activity. They pay their teachers $250,000 a year. Anybody ready to go? The point of what I'm telling you is that particular place on the planet is seeded with people from the sun. And they have been experimenting with the new world there. So what is happening there is going to be happening here very soon. But we can't be afraid anymore. Because fear is the only thing that keeps war outside of us. Fear is the only thing that keeps the government where it is. The government's not bad. We willingly gave over our power, didn't we? So when we look at anything as it's against us, then that is a reflection of what we are fighting within, and it's time to let that go. You don't have to fight with yourself anymore. It's your time. You do need to be responsible, though, for your thoughts and feelings and beliefs, because they will affect what? Your intentions. Intention, to be in the tension of, to force, to bring, to command. The word sun in Sumerian is extension. You are an extension of God. You are the people of the sun. And the sun is what's bringing all of the new information and helping us unlock our DNA. The crystals within our DNA are activating. So all of these things that you felt about yourself, that archetype, that superhero that's deep, deep down within, is going to start to move up into reality. And I will tell you that your psychic abilities are going to be blowing your minds this year if you let go. But you have to get out of logic, because to be psychic isn't very logical, is it? To see something that's not there is not logical. So in order to get something, we have to let something go. What are you willing to let go about what you believe about yourself in order for you to ride the waves? Because I will tell you that it will feel like you are caught in a riptide if you choose to live in your left brain this year. Does it really, really, really matter what Iceland is doing, what degrees you have, how smart you have? Right? Not that any of that is bad, because that's amazing, successful abilities that you've been able to accomplish this lifetime. But when basically it's time to take over our role and become the people that we become, is any of that going to matter? Is anything going to matter from your past at all? The experiment that I've been doing with myself this year, because it's even a challenge for me, is to pretend like I have amnesia. I don't know who I was last year. So day by day by day, I need to reinvent myself based on intuitive intention. Right? Recreate thyself through intention. Your intuition knows who you are. Intuition is the synchronicity of knowing without feeling. It's just there. And intuition is defined by trust. Which means when you actually listen to yourself, you have to trust yourself. And if you have a long history of letting yourself down and everyone around you, then you're not going to trust that gut that's going to get louder and louder and louder this year. It's not going to go quietly, because who you are is, it's time to shine. It's time for us to be the example and not the ones that are hiding under the rock because we feel different. We are here to take back the world and to show everyone else when they wake up how to walk, how to talk, how to learn, and how to listen in the new world. Why do you think you all woke up long ago? You needed practice in the energy. You needed practice knowing what was coming. When you're first born, you have to learn to see. You have to learn all of these things. Well, 2015 was basically the resurrection You are being reborn, which means you need to learn how to live in the new world yourselves. And it can't come from logic. The best advice that I could ever give you right now is to dive into fairy tales. Because that is actually what life is going to feel like and symbolize more than any textbook or any history book that you can pick up. Now, another thing that I've noticed over the last 6 months is the veil is thinning. The veil between the dimensions. Now, if you look at dimensions, look at a birthday cake with 12 layers. And the bottom piece, right, the first, second, and third dimension is very heavy and very dense and very solid. And as it moves up, it lightens up. And as the veil begins to thin, there becomes basically no separation between the spirit world and our world. And that's how it's going to allow our new abilities to come with ease. Because our bodies are going to become less dense. And as we lighten up, pun intended, then we are going to have access to lots more of our senses that are very natural to us. Which means we're going to know things and not know how we know them. We're going to be able to move through that telepathy process so much easier. Your empathy is going to be used for your benefit. It's no longer going to harm you. Empathy is an amazing tool. It's like another form of communication. And when you look at it like it's a bad thing because you're feeling everything, then you're not using it properly. It's just another form of communication, like looking at a newborn and trying to make sense of what they need and want. That's your job. The people of the sun are the teachers and the healers and the guides. They bring the light. They show it over all of the darkness that everyone else is going to be waking up to. We are the original star seeds, and they're all now being born, aren't they? They're already acclimated. They're already moved into that crystalline energy. They're not listening to you. They're not listening to anyone. Because they know who they are. So a lot of us have gotten lost along the way, and it's time for us to really connect with people who have a positive influence. I cannot state this enough. Who you surround yourself with now over the next year is going to make or break how fast you go. It's self-loving to put yourself around people who understand and love you. It's self-loving for you to be an example for people instead of a hindrance because of the way that they make you feel. It's self-loving to leave the job that doesn't support who you really are. It's self-loving to leave the relationships that are no longer in service to your higher good. Self-love is the answer to all of it. But in order to love yourself, you have to remember who you are. Because if you remember who you are, you would never, ever, ever compare yourself to anyone else again. You all came different and unique. You've all come through your different types of struggles for a specific reason. That reason is you needed to understand that part of human nature. To develop compassion. Because the ones that are going to be waking up are going to be waking up in fierce energy. You got to wake up slow. You got to wake up as the world was waking up with you, the planet, as Gaia was integrating with you. Well, and she's integrated. She's here. She's waiting on us. So the ones that are going to begin to wake up are going to be freaked out because it's going to be like a fast-moving current where before it was like a pond. And we're going to be there to say, I've been here. Let me show you the way. Let me help you. Let me tell you my story. Let me be of service to you. That's what you've been dying to do. Everything within you is telling you that that's who you are. But this process of amnesia that I'm asking you to try to generate for yourself is the fastest way to move into who you really are. Because if you keep judging yourself on where you've been and where you were and who you were yesterday, it will slow you down. Because quantum focus is about where you're looking. You are completely undefined. You are completely new. The only thing that is going to stay with you is that deep, deep, deep soul feeling of who you really believe you are. Not what everybody tells you you are or the mistakes that you've made, but who you really are inside. You've known all along. You've not really gotten to be that person yet, but you will. And it will get easier and easier and easier if you just learn to pretend again. This is the year where you have to learn to pretend. If you have forgotten, it's time to read as many fairy tales as you possibly can, to go on as many vision quests as you possibly can, do as much meditation as you possibly can, because that is going to be how you are going to form your new world. You cannot form your world from taking bits and pieces of your observation and practical applications from the past. That is not going to work now. That is going to slow you down. Your body is going to ache with pain because you are going to be crystal energy and you're trying to logic dense your body. You can't do it anymore. Your body pain will increase. Your relationship issues will be a nightmare if you try to logic this time and space. The fifth dimensional world that we live in now is all about play. It's instant manifestation. It's service. It's community. It's unconditional love. That means loving yourself without the conditions of the past. Loving yourself even though you snapped at your kid this morning. Right? It's about taking it moment by moment by moment by moment by moment and saying, who am I now? It's not even about how you feel anymore. It's about what do you want now? And then listening and taking that step forward. And then all of a sudden, you are going to feel this fast acceleration and all of your abilities are going to open up and you are going to be free. You're no longer going to feel homesick. It's all going to make sense why you're here. I know we've been asking ourselves that for years. Why am I here? This place sucks. It's all going to make sense. And how cool, right, is it for us to be able to have tasted both sides? Right? The new kids that are coming in, you know, we had to go to high school without Google, right? That's the way I compare it to. The kids that are coming in now, they don't even know what it was like here. They don't even know what it was like here 3 years ago. So this process is about giving up anything fake that you've had to use in your life in order to conform. And that includes giving up fake food, fake friends, fake relationships, fake jobs. It's time to stop just going through the motions of, okay, well, I'm trying to fit in. You aren't going to ever fit in. You're a different species. In the year of the monkey, this is what this year is, right? It's all about play. Everything is so synchronicity. Everything is so synchronistic on this planet right now. The numbers and the seasons and the time, even us being sitting here right now in the dead of winter, is all synchronistic. Something that happened to you yesterday is extremely synchronistic to what's going to happen to you tomorrow. Living in the synchronicities and honoring that, falling in love with the idea of the unknown. So who would you really be if you totally woke up this morning and had amnesia? Would you have any idea who you were? You'd look next to you, who are you? Where is this? Do you think that you could pretend to be that person for an hour every day? Because if you did, I would tell you that joy would be reborn within you. Because the only reason that you are not walking joy is because you believe something about yourself from who you were last week, or last year or 15 years ago. The thief of joy is comparison. When you go, okay, I don't fit in, but they fit in. Why can't I be like that? So it's all about letting go of that old self and learning how to pretend. And if you don't know how to pretend, go sit in a room full of children. They will school you. They will give you everything that you need to know about who you really are. And it's not always about being kind and gracious and wonderful, because that's not really what a superhero is. They're powerful. And they don't take crap from anyone, do they? They're not a doormat. They're not a rescuer. But they will, if you ask for help, be the first one on the line. It's time to pull out the Reiki. It's time to pull out all of the things you've been reading about that have felt like you this whole time, and begin to live as if. Because all of the things that you've accumulated over the last lifetime you've been on this planet have been for a reason. All of your war scars, your tattoos, your failures, your mistakes, you've needed every single one of those things in order to really become and remember who you were. This new character, this one that you knew briefly as a child, it's time to get to know this person. And if it takes you being a hermit, and if it takes you being all feminine to do that, I would say that really things are going to really start speeding up around March, and then faster in June, and by the end of this year your head's going to spin if you aren't in the flow. Because death of ego is coming, which means the alchemy process will be complete on the planet. We're turning darkness into light. So if you are in resistance of anything within you that is dark, it's going to be painful. But it is choice. Choice is actually the only thing that you ever have here. Moment by moment by moment by moment choice. So a tool I want to give you guys this month is when you start to move into logic and reason and trying to understand why people are the way they are, or try to understand how everything's going to work out, I invite you to take 5 deep belly breaths and then say, wait, I have amnesia. I don't even know who the hell I am. What does my heart think I should do? Does everybody think that they could do that? How about when you're triggered? I've said this since the beginning. 5 belly breaths will take your brain out of fight or flight. That will help you move back into your heart space. Your intuition is the first 3 seconds, and then it moves up into logic and reason. Start following those 3 seconds and see where it takes you. Do you really have anything to lose at this point? Because I think that we've pretty much lost it all, including our minds, which is a good thing. Go with it. See where it takes you. Because I promise you that, especially now, in the energy of 2016, it will take you to a place that you have never been before, but a place that you have dreamed of and seen in your mind's eyes your whole life. Somebody have any questions? I won't know the answer until you ask it, so. Anyone?
You mentioned the first 3 seconds of intuition. You talking about like triggered the first 3 seconds after that would be.
That would be like all of a sudden you get an idea, like I'm supposed to call so and so, right? And then as it moves up to logic, you realize you're in a fight with that person, so you don't call them.
Right.
Right? Logic and reason is usually where ego takes hold and says, no, remember we're in a fight with that person, we can't call them.
Yeah.
But the first 3 seconds was saying, no, you really need to call them because there's some information that they need to give you, and it's time to heal that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily when you're triggered, but it's when you get an inspiration. Inspiration, inspirited action. Another thing is to follow the inspired actions, the ideas, the inspirations. Because again, you don't know who you are yet. You haven't gotten to live that yet. So you will be uncovering it as you go this year. And if you don't follow those inspirations and those ideas and those gut checks and those weird, crazy ideas, then you're actually in resistance of who you are, and you will begin to go slower. And I will tell you that the suffering is going to feel worse if you don't go. You've heard that quote, let go or be dragged. There is nothing more true than that right now. Getting dragged doesn't feel so good. But it is really time to let go of everything that you thought you were up until this point that does not serve you. And to take any healing modalities that you need in order to help facilitate that. There's a room full of healers right now in this space. Kansas City is filled with healers, waiting to put their hands on you. So if you're feeling like you need some extra help, then get it. Because not getting it, because you don't have the money or you don't have the time, would be logic and reason. Because I will tell you that abundance or money is part of your birthright. The children of the sun didn't come here to pay bills and die. The children of the sun came to spread light and love on the world and be divinely cared for and loved in the process. Does anybody have any questions? Come on, guys!
So, are we to assume that if we have fear, that's ego, that they're connected? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, anytime you feel fear, you can say to yourself, that's my ego and that's getting in the way. And I mean, obviously fear feels negative anyway, but...
Well, whatever you need to say to yourself to be aware in the moment that you're feeling it is awesome. If you feel fear and actually can kind of have that conversation with yourself, you're pretty much ahead of a lot of other people, right? So what I do is if I get that little pinch of fear, I ask myself, what am I really afraid of? Right? And then I have that conversation with myself because you know what? Ego might be there, but guess who else is there? I am. And I like the art of debate. And I will challenge that fear until it no longer is there. Because a lot of times the fears that we fear are triggered energy of the past. Are you really afraid of the things you were afraid of 10 years ago? Come on. We've hit so many walls. Right? Haven't we all pretty much faced our greatest fears at this point? And we're still here. So fear is an illusion. Fear is a dense energy. It's a dense vibration. It's a heavy feeling. Fear equals I feel powerless. That statement could not be less true, children of the sun. Right? Don't believe me? Go outside and look up at the sky right now and see how long you can stare at the sun. Not very long. That's how powerful you are. And for a long time, our light has been flickering, right? Because our light has been laced with fear. So we're like a porch light. And what loves porch lights at night? Bugs. How many of you had bugs around you this lifetime? Right? Well, I tell you, though, that if you open up your light and get as bright as the sun, nothing's going to come near you. Because it will get burned. That's why we don't have to be afraid to be empaths anymore. That's why we don't have to be afraid to be healers. We're not going to catch your disease by putting our hands on you anymore. The only way we could do that is if I put my hands on you with fear of that happening. Fear is an idea. Fear is a belief. And I will tell you that if you don't have what you need right now or want, it's for a reason. Number 9 is the hermit, right? So those of us that are super extroverted are being asked to not be so extroverted right now and to go within and to really, really, really get to know who we are. And isn't it funny, the last 6 months, that's come up with all of you. Things have come and literally triggered you and mirrored you to show you what you are and what you're not. So it's all been a blessing. Everything that feels negative is always a shortcut. The people that trigger us the most are our greatest teachers. They are there to show us and remind us who we are. And if we let go of logic and reason, that would actually make sense. Because in every fairy tale, there is a challenge, right? At every end of a video game, there is a dragon. And in order to get to the next level, you literally have to face yourself in the mirror before you can go. Do you like the idea of who you could be? You can start there. You don't have to go become that person tomorrow. But I will tell you that the universe is technically built on frequency. So if you started just pretending that you had amnesia, you would open up a huge space for higher self to come in and bring very quick manifestations and fulfillments of all of your desires you've been asking for forever. But when you don't create space, because it's filled with old ideas, shame and guilt, pain and suffering, fear, resentment, humiliation, there is no room for anything new, is there? So as we move into the spring, we're going to be doing what's called the spring cleaning on our whole universes. And I say that because each one of you has a unique universe that you're living and breathing in. And in your universe, everyone is a reflection of you. And in my universe, you're all reflections of me. And so as we move into the spring, we're going to need to do some spring cleaning. That doesn't just mean your home, but your entire life. It's time to gut it. Pick up something and says, is this who I really am? Does this stay or go? Is this really who I am? Are you really who I am? No, you go. You go, you go, time to go. Because the power of influence is going to be everything this year. Influence is very, very powerful when you are in resistance of who you believe you are. Because when you're not sure of who you are, you need to look around your environment to figure out who you are. Okay, that feels good, that feels good, that feels good. But when you really know who you are, it doesn't matter what's happening around you. So for right now, while you're moving from that vulnerable state of who you used to be into who you're becoming, it is essential for you to be around those that make you feel good about you. This is no longer a human game. This is a game of the gods. So it's not about hurting someone's feelings or cutting someone out. It's about stepping into the position of who you came to be. You have to look at that from a higher perspective. And I will promise you, by letting those people go in your life, you are doing them a service as well. Because your light has been blinding them for a long time, and they're secretly angry with you. Yes?
What do you suggest when somebody has like literally said to you, I'm not leaving your life. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not staying here to be a pain in your ass. I'm just not going anywhere. When you make it clear, like, I'm done. Like, I'm...
How does that feel when they say that?
I think it's kind of funny.
But it doesn't bother you?
I think they're, like, crazy. I'm like, oh, should I, like... get like a restraining order against you?
Possibly. No.
I seriously thought that. I was like, well, I mean...
Well, the thing is you've been feeding people. We all have been feeding people our energy our whole lives. Because that's how we showed unconditional love. Is, well, I can't really be who I want to be, so here's some of my light. Here's some of my light. Here's some of my light. And people get really comfortable with that. Right? Because they don't know that they are light too. So they only feel good when they're around you. Okay? So by you taking back your power, you're inviting them to now look in the mirror. That is a beautiful thing. No soul came here to do another soul's journey. We didn't say, oh, you're not light, let me carry you because you're not light. We're all light. Some of us have just forgotten, and some of us are just going to continue to slumber for a while. But that doesn't mean that they're any different than us. Even the ones we call star seeds, we've just been at this longer. We've just done this more. We've just ascended in other realms, so we know how to do this. So our job is not to rescue or caretake those who are not willing to walk their own path. Our job is to walk hand in hand with them, not to pull them. Come on, let me show you the way. That's your job. But don't try to convince them that they're light, because they will show you their darkness. So in a situation like that, I would let the universe take care of that for you. Stop pretending you don't know them. You have amnesia, right? If you start pulling back your own light, they will feel it immediately. And they will have to stand on their own 2 feet. Because how many of you are parents in here? Right? How our kids had to learn to walk on their own. It didn't mean that we weren't there to guide them and cheer them on and to give them things to hold on to as they were stumbling around. But we couldn't make them walk. And we can't make them talk. We can just teach them through our example how that happens. And my 3-year-old is starting to cuss, so I need to have a conversation with his father. He went from mama, dada to, God damn it. Language. In a matter of, a year's time. So, you know what I mean? They are walking and living our example. And a lot of us feel like we are loved when we're helping others. Because that's really the only opportunity that we got to be ourselves on this planet up until now. Is to take people in and rescue them and try to live their lives for them and try to be everything to them. And then when they don't do exactly what we want, we take it personally. No, you never came for that. It's just been a waiting period your whole life. And through this waiting period of what's occurring now on the planet, you have gotten what's called life experience on planet Earth. You have seen dark times, and you have seen the revolution begin right in front of your eyes. And the reason that I talk to you guys about Iceland today is because I want you to understand that this planet is amazing. It is nothing like you see in the media. And how come none of this has been televised? Right? Because the opponents that we came here to play against as the children of light, we needed to play against someone. So there's no bad, there's no good, it's just a game. And I think it's very clever that they have been managed to keep all of this information away from us. And how I actually discovered this 4 years ago was from Facebook. So there's power in doing your homework and finding the grace that is on this planet instead of the fear that is on this planet. Everything down to the fertility problems on this planet is all divine. Right? Because the children that were coming in needed to come in specific places to reseed the planet. So if you pull out a map and look at fertility issues around the planet, there are specific places where there's fertility issues. Do your homework. If you don't believe me, get online and start researching how amazing this world is. There's nothing wrong with the temperature of the planet. We're evolving. We're becoming the sun. Doesn't feel like it today, but we are. And as we do, everything is going to move faster, and everything is going to become more clear. And where you were in the darkness before, now you will have light. And this is the Christ consciousness energy. This is the unconditional love, the Son of God, extension of light. Now, because the veil is so thin, there is crazy psychic activity on this planet right now. It might make you feel very heightened. It might make you feel like all of a sudden you need to call Ghostbusters into your house. I've had 3 calls this week of asking me to do house clearings. I haven't done those in years. So it's kind of like if you watch that movie Ghostbusters at the end where all the spirits are just running through the streets. That's what the world looks like right now. And it's time for you to step into the role that you came to in order to be able to be of service to all of this new, undefined planet that is being reborn. Because you'll know how to do it. You won't know what to do until you need to know how to do it. It will show up. Because it's intuitive. Your DNA is becoming crystalline, which means you're going to know how to do stuff that you never knew you knew how to do. But if you never put yourself in a new position, you won't even know what you know.
I always wanted to be a ninja.
Be the spiritual ninja. Be the archetype that you know you are. Right? Do your homework. Find out that there's children on this planet, 15, 16, 17 years old, that are inventing ideas in order to clean the ocean in one product. Clean the air in one product. Using recycled materials. There's nothing wrong with our planet. The revolution is happening first within, and then it spreads, like dropping a pebble into water. So the only real work that you need to do is here. And really, all you have to do now is let go of what you've been. It sounds easy enough. But I will tell you that this idea of feeling like you have amnesia is really working for me. You know, every time you move into that logic space or you move into that identity issue that is causing fear, because nothing else, the present moment will never cause fear. The present moment will never cause you to feel unhappy. It's only the remembrance of where you've been or what you don't have that brings that feeling in. The 5th law of the universe, the law of vacuum. Let go of what you don't need so that you can let everything you need come. Right? It's like clearing out your closet, clearing out your house, clearing out your friends list, clearing out everything, and then moving in the direction of joy and allowing the universe to fill in the blanks. Because this is a year of manifestation, and as the manifestation moves faster and faster and faster and faster, I promise you, you don't want to manifest your greatest fears now. Especially with the veil being so thin. You don't want to be driving down I-35 and see a wreck. Because you might. Because as your eyes begin to change with the frequencies of the planet, you are going to start seeing things you've never seen before. You're going to start hearing, you're going to start feeling and smelling color in the next 2 years. So if you have one of those minds that won't shut down, and that is spinning out of control, and it won't let you even remind yourself to think about feeling amnesia, that is when you want to stand up and ask for help. Because that is a biological thing. A racing mind is symbolic with I am in survival. So my mind needs to be running 24/7 because I am under attack. You're not. You're the Son of God. So if your mind is doing that to you, that's when I would say, I need some help. Because there's going to be someone around you that has actually been able to move through that, or has a suggestion, or has a tool, or an idea for you on how to stop that. Because you were basically born knowing how to do a few things, right? You knew that you needed to eat, you knew how to drink, you knew how to breathe, and you knew how to pretend. You knew. That was something that you didn't have to learn. So going back to those basic things, breath, right? Feeding yourself nutrition so that you can grow. And right now, with the winter, we don't have a lot of what we need as far as our vitamin D, blah, 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 blah. But basically, all we need to do in this time is to eat foods that have high sun influence, that are grown near the sun, like algae and spirulina and coconut and nuts and fruits and above ground vegetables. Things that have been kissed by the sun need to be in your body right now.
What do you mean by above ground? Why not root vegetables?
Just for right now, we need as much sun influence as we can in our bodies because we're not getting that direct light.
Oh.
And the root vegetables are great, but they have a tendency to overground us, right? So root vegetables are great for when you feel very ungrounded, but that's also could be a mineral issue. So making sure that you have all the minerals that you need in your body will make you feel more grounded.
The roots help the root chakra, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the root chakra represents childhood and money. Let it go, right? You didn't have a childhood, did you?
I don't remember.
I don't either. And money, trust me, in a few years' time, money is going to be something that we laugh out. Because it isn't about money, it's about the ability to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and with whom you want to do it with. True definition of abundance. So money is just one tiny tool, just like a hammer to build a house. It's not the only thing. Does anybody have questions? On nutrition or anything? Remember?
So these abilities that we're going to start to experience, will we develop just one or multiple or?
Depends on what you're in resistance to. So if you have resistance, it will slowly happen, right? But technically, anyone who has abilities has all the abilities because you're just light. And so abilities is just frequency. Abilities is just information. A photon is just information, right? So as you release more and more resistance, more shame, more guilt, more resentment, and more fear, then that makes space for more of you to be there. And you are focused consciousness. You are imagination of God. Therefore, you have all of the abilities. You have everything within your toolbox. Now, your unique soul signature, right? The thing that you're real passionate about, whether it's healing or creating freedom or building, you will have those abilities will be stronger in you, which means that if you came here to be of service and to be a healer, right, then you might be more clairsentient as far as feeling. That might be more exaggerated within you because you're needing that right now. But then 2 days later, you might be clairvoyant because you need to be clairvoyant. Because the soul is just what it is. And it just wants to be of service. So wherever it goes, it will be exactly what that person needs. Have you ever noticed lately that you talk to someone and you say exactly what they need to hear? How many of you have been doing that this last couple of years? And you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? I'm awesome. Right? And you don't even know how you knew it. Or you learned it 2 years ago and never thought you'd use it, and all of a sudden, bam, you got it. That's what I mean about your toolbox. You've been slowly putting things in your toolbox your whole existence. Because if you came down right now as a starseed, you would have absolutely no idea what to do with people. Because you've had no life experience here. You needed to come down into the dirt and be on the bottom front line with everyone's suffering in order to understand it. Not to become it, but to understand and have a place of learning compassion, and so that you could understand what these humans were going through and know exactly how to help them in the moment because you yourself had mastered that. That's what you came for. So let these old ideas of who you thought you were go. Has nothing to do with labels after your name or your lineage or anything at this point. That has all been basically software. If you understand that you are a biological computer, your hard drive is your heart. And the human identity is the software. And we know that we can change that. And we also know that we can be reprogrammed. We have amazing antivirus protection. It's time to start using it. We call that discernment. We call that trusting your intuition. We call that taking care of the biological computer by feeding it properly, by getting enough rest, by having adequate minerals in the body. Because I will tell you that if you are deficient in your minerals, as a starseed, you will feel crazy. You'll have bouts of depression, up, down, anxiety, blah, blah, blah. That's a mineral issue, guys. That doesn't mean you're crazy. Get your minerals balanced. Get your sun. Get your joy. Get your laughter. Get your water. It's really very simple to be human. Yes?
As far as getting minerals, how do you suggest doing that?
Well, I would suggest it from eating whole foods. You're going to have a higher mineral count in organic food. So, but because in this country, our minerals are so depleted in our ground, we really need some sort of extra. So I take, like a greens powder to just supplement, and that's going to have all of your sea green algae. That's going to have all of your, your green properties that you need. That's going to have your amino acids and your minerals. Anyone who is suffering with depression and anxiety right now, we are in Mercury Retrograde. Anybody noticing that?
Yeah.
Anybody not know what that is? So, all the games that we play on this planet, it's all just agreed upon belief systems. None of this is actually real, it's all an illusion. But we do have agreed upon rule sets of the game, like gravity, right? Law of attraction. We all know that these are true laws that we have bought into. So Mercury retrograde is just a position of the planetary shift that happens about 4 times a year. And basically Mercury is a very, very, very magnetic planet. So when it is closer to the position of our planet, it makes the electromagnetic energy of this planet act kind of wonky, right? In the form of communication, in the form of technology. That's why they say don't sign contracts or buy cars or do anything during this 20 days, right? We'll be out by the 25th. And it just makes everything feel very heightened within your body. So if you were like a little bit depressed, you'll feel really depressed. If you're sad, you'll feel really sad. If you're angry, you'll be really angry. Because your body is electromagnetic energy. And because the veil is thinning, that electromagnetic energy is kind of lightening up a little bit. So we're kind of lifting as far as the density of the properties that we had. So this Mercury retrograde is a very different experience for us. So we might be all over the spectrum of emotion this month. And that's when you really just want to hydrate your bodies, make sure you're grounded. This is a great time to get body work done. This is a great time to do Mind Fit. This is a great time to be around really positive people. This is a great time to write down your triggers and do your shame and guilt work, right? I'm getting ready to start a workshop next weekend. It's called the Life Mastery Workshop. It's 3 weeks. We use the moon cycle because I teach you about the principles of the moon and how it affects your body day by day from beginning to end. And this particular class, it used to be all about manifestation because that's what we all wanted to learn is how to master the manifestation. Well, you're there. So now this time it's going to be much more about bringing those abilities forth and bringing up all of that real you and clearing anything that's not you. Because you are a divine master manifester. But before the energy had shifted on the planet, I had to work with what we had to work with. So that's why each one of my workshops every month is always different because I'm riding the waves of the energy on the planet. So does anybody have any other questions? Rix?
How do you let go of resistance if you know you got an area of resistance and it served you in the past?
Again,
you know
that the past is not there anymore.
But what's a good way to let go? I can't grasp the concept of
Well, can you give
letting
me
go
an
of
example?
resistance, I guess.
Can you give me an example?
For me, it's females.
You're resisting females?
Well, it's an area of resistance,
Okay.
and I don't know what to do about it.
So, like walking into a space and seeing a female, what does that bring up within you?
It puts me on guard.
Are you afraid of them or yourself?
I think them.
I don't blame you.
I used to be afraid.
I don't blame you.
I used to be afraid of myself, but now it's more them.
Okay.
I've changed.
Okay. Well, again, you're judging that they're even a woman.
But how
Right?
do you change that?
Well, what you can do is ask yourself that question. Be there with that fear. Right? Ask yourself in that moment, am I afraid of
What
her?
about the fear?
Right? Am I afraid of her, or what is this bringing up with me? Because the thing is when ego brings up fear, guess who is there? You. You are right there with it now. Your point of awareness is so much stronger than it used to be. So all you have to do is, as that fear comes up, be right there with it and challenge it. And ask yourself in a loving, kind way, what is it about her, or what is it about me that I'm feeling? Right? Because really, that is going to help propel you if you can get that answer.
So resistance is a fear then of
Absolutely.
some sort.
All resistance is tension, right? So when you get scared, what do? You tense up. That's resistance. And the hardest thing about a lot of us is that we're resisting our own light. We're not afraid of our darkness. We're afraid of the light. Because it's the unknown. We know all about the darkness, don't we? We live there. We don't know how to do this light stuff. So walking into a room and trying to say, okay, I don't see women or men right now. I see gods. And then opening your eyes. And then notice what you notice from a platform of non-judgment. That could be something you could practice. It's just walking into a space and seeing if you can see their heart instead of their sexuality. Because any judgment is a resistance. And judgment means you are defining something to be this or that. And that doesn't exist. Judgment is separation. And Rex, your journey, you've been moving more into your divine feminine to connect with who you are.
Yeah, but I even resist her because I don't know what's going on.
That's what I mean. We're all afraid of this new, everything that's been going on with you the last 8 weeks, you've never experienced in your entire life, have you?
No.
Right? But you're staying in your heart about 80% of the time with it, and that's why you keep going so quick. So it's just about practicing new things, because behavior is practiced ideas. So if you want to behave differently, you have to start practicing a new way of being, which means you're not going to be perfect tomorrow. You're not going to be like, okay, I'm going to stop nagging my kids. You can't just say that. It doesn't happen because it's a trigger. It's that PTSD trigger, right? We've talked a lot about the PTSD, that we all have it. Trying to be an alien species on planet Earth is PTSD enough, right? So we need to honor the trigger and say, oh, I'm being triggered right now, but be there with you. There's two sides of you. Your ego has gotten to play God your whole life here, and it hasn't served you. So now you get to show up with your ego in the moment. And you know what? If you get triggered and you start to behave that same way, quietly say, I need to remove myself right now, and I need to go check myself before I wreck myself. Right? And love yourself enough to do that. And then go out in the hall and have a conversation with yourself and get back into your heart space, and then go back in and show up as you. Because the triggers are not going to go away just because you say so. Now, it could. If you really understood the power of intention, all you would have to do is say it, I am, so be it, gratitude, and it's done. But we don't really believe that's not how it works. So as long as you don't believe that, you have to practice your way into that new philosophy. I ruin myself a lot. Right? You show up, you feel kind of, I have to remove myself and say, hey, what's going on right now with me? I don't go phone a friend. I don't call my mom. I go and remove myself in the hermit of the nines and say, hey, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Oh, I'm being triggered. Oh, he represents mom and dad again. Right? And then I would take action steps in order to move through that trigger. Because you know what? The triggers own you until you own the triggers. Your feelings own you until you learn how to feel them. And that's what we're in resistance of. We don't want to feel the feelings, we don't want to feel the pain, we don't want things to change, but we want everything to change. At some point, you got to let go of who you thought you could, who were supposed to be in order to be who you're supposed to be. That didn't make sense, but you got it. Okay? You need to let go of who you thought you were going to be. Because maybe that fairy tale isn't really what is showing up for you right now, but something better is coming. Because who knows? We have no reference. What does the life of a God look like? Does anyone know? No, we're going to figure this out together. The life of who we are going to be is something that we're going to figure out together. Because we've never done this before. This has never happened on such a dense planet before. I will tell you that the universe is watching Earth like a reality show. They're probably pointing and laughing. But we're doing pretty good. Just this many people showing up to hear this craziness is cool. Right? This is change. Me seeing natural grocers go up on every corner, to me that represents change. People growing their own food in their lawns instead of the perfect flowers, that's representing change. People who are going and leaving jackets on the corner instead of making fun of homeless people, that's change. To me, it's like I look at the small things and that have huge impacts. Yes?
Since I like things simple, so I can grasp them, if we literally had amnesia and stayed in our heart space, would that be enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Enough to what, sorry?
To move with the fast-moving current, basically.
If you could even pretend to have amnesia 25 minutes a day, in one moon cycle, your life would be different. Now, if you could do it half the day, right, then it would be half the time. Because really, you aren't who you thought you were. You were playing a role, and now it's time to move into that real role. And the reason you had to play the role is because the world wasn't ready for you. The first indigos came in the 40s. Those poor indigos, we lost a lot of them to suicide. We lost a lot of them to alcohol and drugs. Because I will tell you, the boring factor of this planet has caused us all to drink. Right? Because at least we felt more connected. That's where addiction comes from. Right? It feels like, oh, okay, well, this feels more like home to me. Right? The high. The high that you couldn't really get to in your human life. You know, feeding the dogs, changing the kids, going to the job, go to sleep. You're like, what? Is this my life? So that's why a lot of the times with the early indigos, right? But if you notice in the 60s, they tried this revolution. They tried this idea, but they had no light on the planet to support them yet. So it was like a trial run. But the impact that they left behind in music and art has been enough for us to grab hold of it and find our way home. Think about it. It's music and art and color and sound. That has been what's carried us home. So even though they didn't get to see possibly what they did as far as impact on this planet, they have been leaving the little snacks for us to follow to the treasure. And we are doing that for our kids, and we are doing that for the people who are waking up. But I will tell you that our children are not the ones we've given birth to. Those are old souls, probably ascended masters. Our children are the ones who are waking up. Our children are the ones who need us and don't know how to walk, not the ones that came in running. Our children are ahead of us spiritually, physically, emotionally, and chemically. We need to be watching them. And then the children that we need to be caretaking or nurturing are the ones who are ready to invest in themselves. The ones who come to you and say, I'm ready for help. Not the ones that say, you're a freak. They need to sleep a little bit longer. They need more beauty rest. Let them sleep. Because it's all divine. It's all going to happen exactly the way it needs to happen. And what I'm seeing in this room is so many different species of alien races. And it's funny that we would even still be talking about black and white in this world, because honestly, what I'm seeing in here is a multi-race of every different star system come together embodied in human form to help change the world. So it's pretty cool. And all of you serve a very unique, different process in that unfolding. So when you look within, don't look at where you've been or what you've said or what you've done. Look at where you're going. It's called being in the future presence. Right? Quantumly, you want to be focused on where you are and where you're going. Where you are and where you're going. Where you are and where you're going. The past means nothing. And if you continue to live in the past, you will get more of the past. And it will come heavy and fast and hard. Because everything is faster now. So everything will manifest faster. Yes?
When you're triggered, what's the quickest way to drop into your heart space?
Breathe. Take 5 breaths, get out of your head, into your heart. Right? Focus deliberately breathing into your belly 5 times. And if you don't feel instantly better, remove yourself from the situation. Don't react. Because reaction is of the ego, responding as you. When you react to anything, that's the trigger of the PTSD. When you take time to breathe it in and respond, guess what? You've already had a conversation with yourself. That's why usually when you have a beef with someone, right there, and then you take some time, that's when you can go back and actually have the communication that you need to have. Because you can see things clearly, they can see things clearly. Because I will tell you that a trigger is like a spell that washes over you. You have no ability to really say the right thing in that moment, can you? You don't even want to feel better in that moment, do you? You're like, I'm right, you're wrong. Right? So the best thing that you could do for yourself is to just move out of that situation and be with you. Because the fight that you're having is actually technically with you anyways. The argument that you're having, the disagreement that you're having is actually not with that person. They're just that reflective object for you in that moment. So it's better for you to go get clarity and have that convo with you. I don't care if you have to go sit in your room and journal. Maybe things are coming up. Journaling is a very, very, very powerful way to process and practice intention. Right? Your language is a very, very powerful way of bringing things to your life. Because your voice is a frequency. So your job is to basically stop being who you were. That's your homework for the rest of the year. Stop it. And I don't mean all of the cool stuff. I mean the stuff that doesn't serve you. The stuff that you need to let go of. The old human aspects of you that you've kind of had on so that you fit in. Keep the stuff that feels awesome. Keep the stuff that makes you feel empowered. Keep the stuff that reminds you of why you're here. And let go of everything else so that the rest of you can integrate. Because there's the rest of you's coming. It's here, but you just need to fall into it and align with it. Questions? This morning here. Are you?
Yes, I'm like,
Does anybody have any other questions? Yes, Susie?
So, Amber earlier had asked about your intuitions and stuff like that. I've noticed a lot that I'll feel something or I'll see something out the corner of my eye and I look at it and it brings me back to that moment and it's gone. How do I focus more on feeling it and being it and not freaking myself out and getting back to here?
So that's your judgment. So in this workshop that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be teaching us how to open up our abilities. And so usually when you're starting to see things, that's your clairvoyance wanting your attention. So what I do is I soft focus. Like that's really the only way I can see what I need to see is soft focus. So when you start to see something over here, instead of bringing your attention over, let it be there. Softly focus your eyes, drop them down a little bit, where it kind of gets a little blurry. And then just kind of move your head a little bit and look down here. Because your ego does not want you to see anything that is not three-dimensional. Your ego does not want you to see anything that's not three-dimensional form. So what you're doing is you're kind of like, I see you over there, right? But you're doing it very subtly. And then what you'll notice is you'll start to notice that it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it will start to move in front of you. Because it's your own fear and resistance of your own psychic abilities that's keeping them from you. Did you know that? Your own fear of your own psychic abilities. Because I can promise you, when you were age 0 to 7, you were badass and awesome, and you were seeing stuff that no one else was seeing, or you knew things that no one else knew, and you got shut down for it. So now when you start to see it, it triggers that PTS fear of, I'm not supposed to look at that. I'm not supposed to be psychic because that just makes me a freak. So you kind of just want to softly focus over and kind of look down. It's almost like your dog or kid's doing something they're not supposed to do, and you don't want them to know that you're noticing them, and you're kind of Because spirit is very subtle. It's a whisper. It's a breath. Right? So when you move subtly and soften your eyes, right, and breathe deep, you are now in the spirit realm. That's all. That's not the spirit realm. Not the spirit realm. Soft, subtle breath, relaxation, right? Unheightened awareness. Unheightened awareness is where you're going to start to see everything. Not the, who's coming to get me? But the, what else is here with me? Right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to teach you more of that during the workshop. Yes?
I've been seeing those things all my life. But someone told me, because the only one I could talk to was people like Wiccan or whatever, and they said that they were like spirits just playing with you,
Well, there's
So
those
I'd be sitting there, and I'd see it, and as soon as I looked away, it'd be gone. And I could see it going, but it was like, I don't know, it just disappeared,
Well, it's probably the fairy realm. The fairy realm is very, very, very influential in this shift, right? And that energy is literally, it's like just little flickers of light. It's probably just been there to remind you all along that there's something there that you can't see necessarily that's there. That's going to open up a lot more. That's why fairy tales are so amazing right now. Because it gets you feeling the feelings of what else is out there, right?
When I would see them, I would be in the middle of something, concentrating on something, only focusing just on that one thing.
Yep.
Then I would see them.
That's a great point. So that moment when you're lost in something that you're doing? You have no idea time and space. You're not hungry, mad, sad. You're just in it. That's actually who you really are. That's why they say follow joy and be creative and be in creative artistic flow, because when you're focused on that, then circumstances don't matter, do they? And when circumstances don't matter, you are free. So if you could spend more time doing that, then you would become more of yourself even faster. Because from the beginning of time, we've heard, follow your joy, follow your bliss. And you're like, well, how do I do that when I have to work and blah, blah, blah. But now more than ever, if you were to actually just follow the most exciting thing that you could fathom in your mind, it would carry you to ascension. You would just blow everything away. And you would move into divine purpose because you would be in purpose. I'm going to tell you, anytime you're joyful, that's who you really are. Anytime you don't feel good, that's not who you are. It's really that simple. So you have to find things that feel good. If you've lost your flow of joy, if you've lost your ability to create, it's time to go find it. It's like it's time to go to Neverland. Really. Because you've got to find what you've lost. That means you got to get your hands dirty. You got to go try new things. You got to go take a funky class. You know, go out with new people. Do things that you've never done so that you can start remembering more of who you are. Because the same old stuff is going to remind you of who you've been, and it's going to make you crazy. That's where you have to. Maybe you don't know what's fun. Maybe you don't know what you like. Maybe you've never been allowed to play. But that's your homework, is to remember how to pretend, and for at least a part of your day, pretend. And if you don't know who you want to become, pretend you don't know who you are. That's easier. This universe is all about path of least resistance. So things are going to manifest in the path of least resistance. That's why usually, like when you're really focused on wanting something over here, and you really, 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 really need it, then all of a sudden you manifest something over here you didn't really even need. Because it's path of least resistance. When you're focused on something that you want, you can't have it. So you've got to just soft focus your life. Stop giving everything so much attention. Unless it feels amazing, don't do it. How many of you feel better when you eat well? How many of you are eating well? Okay, let's start there. We know that we feel better when we eat well. So that could be something that we practice. Maybe baby steps. We eat 1 meal a day, good, right? And then we turn it into 2. Because I will tell you that the biological computer is going to make or break your happiness or your sadness. It's not going to let higher self really embody the energy field if it's bogged down by food and pills and narcotics that don't rise you up. Okay? So lighten your body up. That's going to raise your frequency. Sun foods is going to raise your frequency. Spring, clean your life. It's time to clean out your life. Right? So you could even go home today and journal and pretend like you don't know who you are. What's the first thing you'd want to do? Right? You wake up in the morning, you have no idea who you are, except there's a stack of money there. What do? Where do you go? Right? You don't know if you have a job or not, so you don't show up. Right? Nobody's around, so it's not like you have people to take care of. There's just a stack of money. Where do you go? What do? Whatever you want. But how do you know what you want if you don't know who you've been? I promise you, you will know exactly what you want to do. Because all that stuff will be gone. And you can just spend time in your imagination doing that, or journal that, you know? And then that will be the thread that will bring you home.